Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 735 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday. Yes, already Friday, September 12th, 2025. Also, for a couple of people, as I'm reminded in the chat, it might be payday. Just got paid. Boom, boom. It's Friday night. Boom, boom. Little New Jack swing there. So lovely to see you. And it is a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm looking at the sky and I'm seeing nothing but blue, not even a wisp of cloud. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver Ray. And not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And yeah, kids and cubs, if you see my sartorial choices today, you will notice the black and white pattern. And as soon as I put the shirt on, I looked at myself in the mirror. This will probably require you to be of a certain vintage, but remember the days of a vertical hold on your television sets? We are having technical difficulties. Please stand by. ah, my mind's a weird place. How's your mental health today, kids and cubs? Mine is pretty good today, all things considered. Yesterday was a good day because, one, I made a new friend. Hello, Heather. If you happen to be watching, Heather has been a long-time watcher of the show, and we had been talking for a while, and then COVID happened and all that kind of stuff, and we had planned to meet, and that didn't happen. So yesterday we actually had a chance to meet, and we had lunch together, and it was an absolutely delightful time. So I've made a new friend, and then I also got to connect with an old one. Well, not that old, but a friend that I made last year on the tennis courts that I hadn't had a chance to play with this year because of my foot, who has gotten very, 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 very good in the meantime. And we used to have close matches, and now he just completely outclasses me. But he's a great guy. So Benjamin, was so nice to share a court with you again yesterday. And now I'm going to have to improve dramatically in order to be able to keep up with you. Of course, he has the classic tennis body, though. He's like tall and lean and whatnot. And well, I'm short, so I don't have anywhere near as much power. So he's found his power. So I'm just basically, I was basically target practice yesterday. We got to play 2 pro sets to 8, and I lost the first one 8-1. Did better on the second one. I started with a 2-0 lead, but then he won 8 games in a row, and I lost 8-2, so, you know. Eh, you know, uh, I would say that it's because he's got 5 extra months on me, but no, he's, this year, but, no, he's improved, amazingly, well. I wish I could improve that fast. He's improved more in a year and a half than I've improved, since I started 5 years ago to where I am now. So, either he's been practicing more or taking more lessons, or he's just more of a natural than I am. But whew, it's amazing how good people can become in a short amount of time when they dedicate themselves, and particularly if they have a. If they're biomechanically well engineered for the sport, let's put it that way. But he's a gem of a person, so it's always a good time. So it was a wonderful afternoon, all around yesterday. So I'm in a very, very, very good mood, and I hope you are too. Let's take a little look, kids and cubs, into the magic monitor and see who we have with us this Friday morning. Usually we have a good crowd on Fridays. We have Kit Uncover here saying morning. We have Kit Ray saying good morning, DAMFAM. Kit Uncover the news, bring it the Beaver dad joke of the day. Why did Beaver invite Grizzly to the dam? Because every project needs a little bear muscle. Ha ha. We have Kit Swanky Frankie, hopefully on the feeling better now that he's been to the dentist and the tooth has been extracted, or the teeth. It seems. It seems that there are two. So hopefully things can only get better, as Howard Jones would sing. So, sending you some healing vibes. We have Kit Nona Carol with us saying good morning. Kit Tabby G saying Eureka, good morning. Kit Linda M also saying good morning, and sporting a new hairdo. Got my hair done and added a magenta pink to the turquoise and purple. Oh, rockin'. And again, for some reason, I have a musical mind here, but I got my hair done. Check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. You're inspiring my musical mind. Ah, God, Cat W. Kit Kat is here saying good morning. And let's see, who else do we have here in the chat? Kit Bucky is here, and so is Kit Sharon, and so are the Breens. So lovely to have you with us. Ah, this is always a joy. And now everything has skipped forward in the chat, so I got to go back a little bit to make sure I don't miss anybody, because that would be a terrible thing. Who else do we have here? We have Kit del Sol Verde with us. Good morning. We have Kit PNC Bio. Hey, nice, 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 nice. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's always a joy when you're here. Kit Argosy Acres as well. So is Miss. And good morning to you and the entire family. I hope all is going well. We have Kit Tim with us. Hey, nice to see you. I'm not sure if that's the first time this week, but it's always a joy when you're here. And we have very special company. Super Kyle is here today. Hey, 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 hey. Nice to see you. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. And who else? Who else? Kit Cassie is with us this morning. That's lovely. We have Jenny, Kit Jenny with us. Hey, all right. And I think I've got everyone. The scroll keeps skipping. Kit Elaine, in case I didn't say hello, but I think I did already. But I think that is everyone this morning. I hope you are all in good spirits and have a wonderful weekend ahead. And I'm already getting a little bit of case of dry beaver. So if you will just indulge me for a second. While I take one more sip. There we go. And that also, now that's prompted another song in my head. Oh my God. I'm in a party mood because the song is called oh my God, I can't remember now. It's the title of the song is by Rave, who I like a lot, Canadian artist who won a Juno about maybe a year or two ago for Best New Artist, called I think it's called Big Boom in the House or something like that. But yeah, because anyway, there's a part in the song that goes one more sip, throw that back, maybe flip that switch. So, so yes, if we need to more moisture over the course of the day, uh, you will notice that that bit of the song will probably be playing in my head as I take a little water in this morning. All right, let's get into it because we've got a lot today. We're going to talk about the unveiling of the first few projects that are going to be forwarded to the Major Projects Office so that they can be advanced. And if we have time, because that's going to be a pretty big segment, if we have time, we're going to talk a little bit about going ons in Brazil, which have defied the United States by sentencing their former president, who is alleged to have um, tried to stage a coup to remain in power. And we are also going to talk about the Ontario Liberal Party leadership. A while ago, we had Nathaniel Arfin as our guest to talk about what was going on there. And hopefully, we'll have him on after sometime soon to talk about the aftermath. But there is a vote tonight. Or today at some point to see if Bonnie Crombie will retain the leadership of the party. And there seems to be a pretty strong push to bring in some new blood. So we'll look into that a little bit. And if we have time as well, there's a petition going around. And it would seem that Canadians, the petition is indicating that Canadians are getting rather fed up with political lies and would like to do something about it. So, jam-packed show. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through all of it before let's say in fewer than 3 hours. I would like to be able to do it in two, if possible, but that's always the goal here. But as you know, there is so much news, and well, I'm a little chatty, so sometimes it goes a little over, but we will do our best today. All right, kids and cubs, let's get right into it. Yes, we have projects. So, I guess we're at the time in the program where the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre are going to have to change their rhetoric because they're complaining about no shovels in the ground and all that kind of stuff. And I guess they could still say that at the moment because the projects have been announced, but they clearly haven't been started. But their negative, basically the entire conservative criticism seems to be that Carney is worse than Trudeau, which I do not know how you could establish that in this amount of time, given, there's always a transition period between governments where the policies of the previous government are the ones that are still reigning supreme for all intents and purposes. And the current government hasn't made enough of its mark, either with the budget or legislation, in order for people to say that everything that is happening right now is the fault of the current government. So we've got that going on, but we also have the fact that basically not fast enough. Everything is just not fast enough. The Conservative Party, since the days of Harper, have had a fetish for expediency. Let's just do it fast. Let's just do it fast. I don't care how it gets done as long as it's done fast, and which usually ends up blowing up in their faces. Right. That's the whole reason why we didn't get a pipeline to Tidewater. One of the reasons under the previous conservative government, because fetish for expediency, we need to do it fast. We need to gut some laws. We need to destroy everything to clear a path for this. And well, fuck no, we don't need to consult with Indigenous people. Screw that. Let's just run roughshod over them, get it done fast. And well, they proved after a whole decade that they couldn't lay pipe. So, um, a fetish for expediency. It's good in a situation that is a crisis and an emergency to be able to get things done fast, but that doesn't absolve you of the responsibility of getting them done well and getting them done in the right way and following the Constitution and the law in the process of trying to get things done fast. Right? There are certain things that are, as we say in French, des incontournables. You can't get around them. They are things that you must do. And if you choose to proceed by not doing the things you must do, you waste a lot of energy. You have newspapers spill a lot of ink. You use a lot of bandwidth. You lose a lot of airwave time, and you spend a lot of money. But you don't get a lot of success, and you don't get a lot of things done. You don't really build a legacy. So sometimes you have to follow the steps. Sometimes you have to follow the process. So, fortunately, we happen to have a prime minister at the moment who is methodical, who has rigor, um, who understands and even seems to like process, which are all things for a lot of people are boring. But we have a prime minister that seems to really enjoy this part of it. Um, Again, central banker, you know, likes to think about things as led big operations that have done big things in the past. So, uh, I think he gets it in that sense. So, what we have now is something that is more likely to succeed than anything that the conservatives under Stephen Harper had proposed to us because there is rigor, there is method, there is process, there is thought uh, behind it. And it isn't thought in how can we skip steps or how can we pull the wool over someone's eyes or how can we pull off a fast one, but more like, um, you know, let's have a plan and then let's not waste time executing on that plan. And this might prove to be rather successful for him. So, the prime minister was at an event yesterday in Edmonton to unveil the major projects, and it seems that there are five major ones, I think, five or six major ones. Can't remember off the top of my head, that have been approved. And as we had hinted, and as had been hinted throughout news reports in the last few days, he actually unveiled two lists of projects, one that are being forwarded to the so called major projects office immediately so that they can be advanced as fast as possible and we can get some work started on these. I didn't hear anything in the press conference yesterday stating by when they would like to some concrete work that like people can actually see being started on these projects, but I would suspect that some of these things, if they could be started before the end of the year, in terms of actually having some activity, that would be very, very desirable. But I didn't hear anything, any targets as to a start date with regard to those. And then a second series of projects that are under consideration that look good, that have some potential, but they're just not as far along in the process because, as we mentioned before on the show, some of these first projects are projects that had already had a lot of work done before even Mark Carney became prime minister, and they were as close to shovel ready as can be, and just missing a few final either regulatory approvals or needs these projects might need proponents might need a little extra help in trying to secure some outside financing, not necessarily government financing, but outside financing. And the government can play the major projects office could play a liaison role in that type of process, matching the projects to potential companies that might want to invest in them so that they can become realities. So the second batch of projects are not as far along, and maybe not all of those ones will end up making the final list, depending on how much can be done and how and whether or not they can be advanced and whether or not there's interest in partnering in advancing them. But these are the next ones that they are looking at, and these ones will probably be part of another announcement that the prime minister has teased would be coming sometime prior to the Grey Cup. So um, that would be before the end of this year. So lots of activity. And this was a big one because often when the prime minister will make an announcement of some kind, and then I'm looking at the time, stamp out the videos. They'll last about 35 to 36 minutes total. This was 1 hour when you include the question and answer session. So this was a relatively big deal. Um, so the prime minister there's a lot of people behind him. I I'm going to have to remember the name of the group, but I think it was a union of carpenters, if I'm not mistaken, that was there with him when he was making this announcement. And there's a I liked this announcement when I was listening to it. I actually was listening to it yesterday evening and actually stopped while the announcement was being made. I didn't know I was near the end of the announcement when I did, but I was. But it's just like I need to write something about this right away, and I was impressed with the manner in which the prime minister presented these projects. He's very, very, very good at doing this particular style of communication, and it was obvious. So I was, again, very happy and proud to have a prime minister who talks to me as a citizen, assuming that I will be able to understand a plan or a process or how pieces of a strategy fit together with it, him having to be either pedantic or turn around and adopt a, well, this is very complicated and you just won't understand. So just trust us. We've got this right sort of attitude. He talks to us, not at us, and brings us in. So I like that very much. And that style was still there. I do, I'm starting to see in the way that he made the announcements, what his when he's talking about having a strategy or a policy of climate competitiveness, as opposed to you know the way that we were doing climate change under Prime Minister Trudeau. It's two different styles. You're starting. It's starting to become more clear what it is that he means when you listen to the way that he presents these projects. He talks about wanting to do it more through investment and economic activity rather than through prohibitions and interdictions. So it's a different approach. He thinks that his is probably more in line with being able to attract business investment. So we'll see how that goes. But there is a clear through line there that is obvious if you're paying attention, and you can start you can see elements. And I also, uh, there was one thing that he mentioned in there that did not necessarily have to do with the five or six major, but it was sort of like, oh, and we're going to be doing this too. That stems, well, let's just put it this way. That's when you mentioned that I had to stop because, okay, now the prime minister is making my nipples hard. So this is something I have wanted to hear for a long time, and it is being done. I hadn't talked about it much on the show, maybe not even at all, but there was something that happened. There was a letter that went to the prime minister on September 2nd, and I had made note of it and wanted to bring it to the show. But there's so many stories in the news cycle go so fast that I never got to present it. And he said something yesterday that opens the door for me to present it, and it looks like he's going to be acting on the request in that letter. And it was a brilliant request, and it's something we absolutely need to do. So when the prime minister proactively mentioned it, I was like, oh my god, this man is rocking my world. For those of us who are political junkies, uh, right here in the vein is where he injected that one for me. So I'm going to be happy to present this to you, kids and cubs. So a little hyping, which is not usually what I do on this show for that, but as a communications person, this announcement to me is pretty much an A plus. The way that it was organized, it was packaged, the way it was delivered. It wasn't, we've got five projects. Here are the five projects, just lists them, and then go look at the press package for some more background and information. He actually spoke about the projects. And this prime minister has a reputation for really wanting to be prepared and really wanting to be knowledgeable, maybe even more than he should be. for the position that he is, because you have people under you and subordinates and all that kind of stuff who are, when you're at that level, who should know all this information, be able to sift that through you and to get it to you. But this is a prime minister that has a reputation for asking lots of questions about lots of things and wanting specific details. And of course, if you don't show up prepared to the meeting to be able to answer such questions, if you do not know your file on the tip of your fingers, to be able to give him the information that he deems that he needs in order to go forward, um, the meeting might get a little uncomfortable. So he clearly is showing that it's more than, yeah, we're doing this project. He can talk about the project, specific details, carbon impacts, links to Indigenous partnership that are there for certain projects for those that are. So all these things that he's been talking about, there will be Indigenous participation and ownership and whatnot. And this is serious. It's not just words. You could hear in this announcement. If you've read his book, Values, and how he feels about the environment, you will notice this in the manner that he speaks about these projects and in the way that these projects were selected, that this was indeed a critical factor. He's not just playing lip service, he means it. So, uh, as a communications person, I thought this was a very, very, very well done exercise, well thought out, very thorough. Did Respected the intelligence of Canadians. Did not talk down to us. All the good things, the things that you want, and definitely gives a vibe of a leader who is in charge, who knows his file very well, and is. Um, just solidifies confidence that we have selected the right person for the job at this particular moment in time, particularly when we compare and contrast to the reaction from opposition parties, which has been uh, disappointing, would be an understatement, actually. There's an expression in French that I use often, le choix s'impose, which means basically, yeah, you have a choice. You have all these things to choose from, but I mean, the choice really imposes itself. It's so obvious what it is you should choose here. And I think we have a little bit about this. We have seem to have a prime minister and a government that is serious, and we have a leader of the opposition who is a patently an unserious person making unserious statements, and a party that is very eager to follow him down that path. But there was also a pronouncement yesterday from one of the main contenders, uh, allegedly or prospectively, for the leadership of the new Democratic Party. And they're nobody has officially entered the race yet, which is kind of interesting. And I don't know what that says about the party. But there are two names that have been um, circulating as being pretty much a surefire entrance, and another one that has come up as well that seems also will be a surefire entrant, even though that person's doesn't have as much name recognition from coast to coast to coast. But one of the people that seems to be one of the main candidates, their first take on this was ridiculously disappointing, and does not send the signal that this person is the one that should be selected for the job. So we will hopefully get into that as well a little bit today. So, kits and cubs, let us, if you will, indulge me, uh, take you to this press register, and we will look at certain segments from it. Um, there is a lot to like and clip. I could actually pretty much go through the whole thing start to finish and do some commentary along the way. But I'm not going to do that because one, it's relatively long, and two, because, like I said, there's other things that we want to get into. Now, the prime minister, when he makes these types of announcements, of course, always talks, goes back a little bit into the history. So he's talked about us having a long history of building projects. He talked about, in the short amount of time that we did it, how fast we got the Trans Canada Highway built, that Expo 67 from concept to completion was a 4-year project. I talked about the railway when we did that, and various other things. The St. Lawrence Seaway that was done in a very short time. The 7 locks that were there, and basically saying, we there was a time when we could build big things and we could build them quickly, and we're going to go back to that kind of time. And then does a good job at explaining to us what the sort of current situation is, and that he does that a lot. And we've shown that in some previous videos recently, because he had that big announcement last Friday as well in terms of the industrial reset. So I won't spend too much time on that, even though that part is really well done, and I would show you that in its entirety, because again, there are some historical elements in there to be aware of, to know to how we got to this place in these sections, and a good laying out on the table, like, here's where we are right now. Here's the situation we're dealing with, and it's a very clear-eyed presentation with not. Um, Making things about which we should be worried or concerned, not spiking them up for extra effect, but also not tampering down or speaking in euphemisms to try to make the things that are not so good appear not so bad. Right? He keeps it very real. Now, one of the major things coming out of Bill C5, as you know, Kits and Cubs, was the reaction of Canada's Indigenous community. And that wasn't very good at the first, and it led to the Prime Minister of having to do further consultation, which also, we've been saying it could be seen as a little bit of damage control with regard to that, in terms of getting the buy-in and assuring Indigenous peoples from coast to coast to coast, whether they be First Nation, Inuit, or Métis, that they will not just be cast aside or be run over or bulldozed over, that they will be an intrinsic part of this move, that partnership and ownership, genuine ones, will be part of the process. And, that tried to establish some working relationships, new working relationships between Indigenous communities and the government of Canada. Of course, always in the spirit of reconciliation, and especially important this month because, as September 30th, which is not that far away, is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So this would be particularly bad month, PR wise and optic wise, to present projects that would run roughshod over the Indigenous community. Now, it's always a bad month to do that, but this would be a particularly bad one. June as well would be a particularly bad one to do that because it's Indigenous Peoples History Month. So there there are certain things that it's always a bad time to do, and then there are particularly bad times to do it. This would be one. Um, so we're going to show the first clip that we're going to show is going to talk a little bit about that Indigenous involvement, because associated with this, there was going to be an advisory panel of some kind, and that was actually, I wanted to talk about it on yesterday's show, but that was actually announced prior to this announcement, that there is such a council, and the members have been named. So I will let the Prime Minister talk to us about this portion of the process, and then I will be able to get back to you with a little more information about the council and its membership. All right, kids and cubs. So please, uh, uh, again, a bit of I'm a big nerd, so I hope you enjoy this as much as I do.
big and builds fast. Because, as Minister Valdez knows, entrepreneurs, builders, dreamers power our economy.
Oh,
They are
no.
the engines of growth.
Oh, no.
And the strategic industries.
Okay. I'm sorry, kids and cubs. The same thing happened. Oh, I hate this. I did it on, oh God. I watched it on CPAC and they edited it down so all my timestamps are wrong. Oh, this is going to be hard. Okay. Kids and cubs. I hate CPAC when it does this. They broadcast it live, and the announcement was 1 hour and 1 minute. But I'm now looking at it. They edited it down overnight, and but timestamps is 48 minutes and 77 seconds. So all my timestamps are wrong. Oh boy. Okay. And since I don't have Mr. Grizzly here, I have to try and figure out where the timestamp is while I'm talking to you, which is very difficult to do. So, uh, I'm in a pickle. Um, I'm in a pickle. Tech is hating me this week. We had the mic thing, and then this morning I wrote out the entire episode description for the show, and then when I pressed the button for the feed to be available to you, the description of the show didn't follow, and I had to do it all over again. And now all the timestamps have changed. Uh, See, I got used to using the CPAC feeds when we had that transition where Mr. Grizzly wasn't here and all the YouTube videos were being cut by ads before we got our subscription to take that around. And I've just gotten used to always going back to the CPAC feed. And I probably should have just taken a network feed because the network doesn't edit the videos down. Okay, I will figure out. I will figure this out for you though, because this is very important. So what I will do, um, oh man, there we go. I will go to the question of the Indigenous projects, Indigenous Advisory Council first. And hopefully I will be able, well, although, yeah, that also creates a question because how am I actually, if I'm reading this article to you, how do I find this timestamp? Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But let's talk about the major projects office, Indigenous Advisory Council first. This is according to the Globe and Mail, Emily Hawes. The federal government has appointed a vocal critic of its major projects legislation to the Indigenous Advisory Council that will advise on the law's implementation. Treaty 8 Grand Chief Trevor McCurdy is one of 11 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis leaders who will serve on the council, the Prime Minister's office announced Wednesday. Mr. McCurdy criticized the legislation at a House of Commons committee in June. Quote, its process is unconstitutional and its content is unacceptable, he said about Bill C-5 on June 18th. He called on the government to make several amendments to the legislation, including explicitly adding free, prior, and informed consent to it. Free, prior, and informed consent is a legal concept under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or UNDRIP, which came into force in Canada in 2021. The federal court ruled in March that it does not amount to a veto, but a right to a robust process. Quote, if Canada wishes to be a global leader in Indigenous rights, it must first uphold its legal and treaty commitments at home, he told MPs. It has a duty to uphold the honor of the Crown. We stand by, ready to partner. Later in June, and I guess that was serious because Mr. McCurdy did accept this invitation to be part of the council. Later in July, Mr. McCurdy said that the chiefs came to a summit with Mr. Carney, quote, with very heavy concern. We simply came here to assert our rights and make sure that each and every person understands that what they're in for if they're coming for our resources, he said. The Globe reached out to Mr. McCurdy for comment via his Facebook page and Treaty 8 Chief Administrative Officer Jamie Cooey. Mr. Cooey said there would be no statements of interviews at this time, but an interview could happen when Treaty 8 is prepared to make a statement. When asked about Mr. McCurdy's appointment Wednesday, Indigenous Service Ministers Mandy Golmasti said different perspectives on the process are important. Quote, I think when you bring those two dynamics together, it really allows for a thorough review of what we're trying to do, she said. Other prominent members of the council include Assembly of First Nations Yukon Regional Chief Cluane Adamek, who said her role as regional chief ends September 30th, and Crystal Smith, the former chief of the Haisla Nation. Ms. Smith is known for her work on Cedar LNG, an Indigenous majority-owned liquefied natural gas project under construction in Kitimat, British Columbia. As part of Bill C-5, the Building Canada Act allows the federal government to deem certain projects in the national interest, which then exempts these projects from various legal requirements to speed up approvals. The legislation created a major projects office to serve as a single point of contact to identify and fast-track initiatives. The office is led by longtime energy executive Don Farrell and is headquartered in Calgary. While some Indigenous communities have voiced concerns that the legislation could affect their treaty rights, Mr. Carney government said that they will be fully consulted at key stages. The Prime Minister has also said that Indigenous economic growth is at the center of the legislation, and he met with First Nations as well as Inuit and Métis leadership this summer. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty said Wednesday that the Council will provide policy recommendations to the Major Projects Office, but that the office itself will be responsible for conducting direct consultations with right holders affected by potential projects. Ms. Galmasti said the Council will not play a role in determining, finalizing, or selecting the projects. Members of the Council are appointed for an initial 2-year term, the statement said. They will meet at least 4 times a year in person, with other virtual meetings held as required. Other First Nations leaders include Whitecap Dakota First Nation Chief Darcy Bear, Member 2 First Nation Chief Terry Paul, J.P. Gladue, a member of Bingwi Nayashi Ashninabek in Ontario, and Victoria Labilwa, a member of Listgouche Mi'kmaq First Nation in Quebec. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Kyra Wilson said she was disappointed in the announcement, noting that there is no First Nations representation from Manitoba. She said they will decide for themselves on how they will engage in potential major projects and give direction. On the flip side of that, however, Premier Wab Kinew's process for recommending projects to this initiative very much had the Indigenous consultation component embedded in it. So perhaps one of the reasons for which there is no representation from Manitoba is because Mr. Kinew did what he needed to do at the provincial level to ensure that this was taken care of, unlike other premiers, and therefore might not have been as necessary. The formation of the council might be such that it seeks to shore up where our premiers have failed us when it comes to consulting in this case. And Premier Wab Kinew was very, very enthusiastic and excited about everything that was on offer for Manitoba that could help Manitoba. And of this, I'm not particularly surprised that there was a lot for Manitoba in this announcement, considering the level of dedicated work that Premier Kinew put into his part of the work, as opposed to other premiers. So again, Premier Wab Kinew proving why it is that he is the best premier in Canada at the moment. Rather beloved, has a high approval rating. And as Kit Sharon says, yes, Sharon, I agree with you. He is also very hot. Not that that matters. It's just a bonus. Premier Kinew makes some of the members of the DAMFAM swoon. What can you say? What can you say? Inuit are represented by Christy Sinclair, who works for Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated, and Vanessa Doig, who works for Makivik. They are the organizations that uphold the modern treaties signed with Inuit in Nunavut and Northern Quebec, respectively. Métis are represented by Lorne Pelletier, a senior economic advisor for the Manitoba Métis Federation, and Matt Vermette, the chief operating officer of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. So there is representation from Manitoba, but it's Métis representation and not First Nations representation. Mr. Carney said that the first wave of nation-building projects will be announced Thursday, which was the case. It did indeed happen. So, yes, that is a little bit about the Indigenous Advisory Council. And I'm just going to take a look here very briefly if there is more on the Government of Canada site, uh, because, you know, sometimes the information that is there is a little bit different. Okay, yes. So for those who are interested, I'm going to post a link here in the chat for you. There it is. Because at this link here, uh, there's a list again of all the members, along with some brief bios uh, of them here. Extremely accomplished people. And if I'm looking just very quickly at these bios, oh my God, these are really very. Listen, um, I'm looking at this, and one of the things that happens. Sorry, this is an aside for me. One of the things that happens when we talk about Indigenous peoples in Canada is that it's often the subject is always broached, or not always, but frequently broached from a perspective of either past torts, past wrong, trauma, things that we need to do. Yeah, how would I put it? To combat um, intergenerational mistrust, um, learned mistrust from generation to generation. Um, this here is an exercise in celebrating Indigenous excellence and achievement, which we don't do enough of when we talk about Indigenous people in Canada. And I am extremely impressed by what we are seeing here. So if you're the type of person that wants to have some good news stories and wants to learn about Indigenous people who are making incredible contributions and achieving high levels of success. These bios are definitely something that you should read. It says here the members of the council were selected based on their expertise and knowledge for major projects, Indigenous rights, and the regulatory space. Members were carefully considered based on their diverse perspectives and demonstration of leadership experience. Membership was developed to ensure the council reflects regional governance and gender diversity as much as possible. Um, and then, yeah, that's the major thing. There isn't that much more in the statement with regard to that, but those are some very, very, very accomplished people. I'm impressed. This is a solid council. All right, and hopefully, like I said, the advice that they give will indeed be incorporated and heeded. All right. So, kits and cubs, trying to go back to the announcement here. I'm going to turn off the volume and turn on the captioning. And hopefully, through the captioning, I will be able to find the section here that deals with that. So, uh, as we mentioned, the prime minister was indeed making the case about where we stand with regard um, to our history of building great projects and where we are right now at this current moment in time. And, wants us um, to build fast, wants us to, because the scale of the challenge that is ahead of us is uh, is pretty substantial, pretty substantial. Um, I'm sorry, kids and cubs. It's hard to do both at the same time. So you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hope here. Yeah, actually, you know what the problem is? This is the wrong. Oh my God, this is terrible. Um, okay, sorry, I made the mistake. Uh, my time, I just had the wrong window open. So good news. This will actually make the process a whole lot simpler. I had um, opened up by accident the industrial reset announcement video rather than the thing from CPAC yesterday. So here we go. Uh, Noticed my error, and now I am ready to go because I have it lined up. It's a good thing I tried that, or else I would have been looking forever. Sorry, kids and cubs. I don't know. I went to YouTube has a history list, and I just saw Mark Carney's face and clicked on the first thing because that was the last thing I looked at, you know, before going to bed last night. But it turns out that when I logged on today, the screen was showing how would I put it? The video from last Friday was still up in my tabs and it opened on that screen. So that was the one that showed us the most recent Mark Carney one. And I just clicked on it, assuming it would be the right one. And it wasn't. But now I do have the right one. So here you go.
And to begin that, this summer I hosted 3 summits to engage First Nations, Inuit, and Métis rights holders on their priorities, and to explore the opportunities for equity ownership and broader economic benefits from this generational transformation in the Canadian economy. Yesterday, we announced the membership of the Indigenous Advisory Council. This is comprised of representatives from First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and modern treaty and self-governing partners. The members bring deep expertise in economic participation, impact assessments, and UNDRIP. And the Council will ensure that projects move forward in true partnership with Indigenous peoples. Bâtir un Canada fort veut dire bâtir ensemble. Soyons clairs. Nous allons nous employer à bâtir ce que les gens souhaitent.
So he basically says that building Canada strong means building Canada together and building things that people are actually seeking. So there you go. A little bit of what the Prime Minister had to say about the council itself. Then the Prime Minister reminded us of the 5 elements of what constitutes a project of national interests. So, of course, among those things was, of course, its impact on climate and, of course, Indigenous participation, but also, projects that had a high probability of being able to be led to a successful conclusion, and that could generate benefits, for the entire nation and things of the like. So he goes back into those. Those were things that he mentioned a while ago when he was announcing that Bill C5 would be taking place. And he said that there were these 5 criteria that would determine what is a project of national interest. So he takes some time to remind us of that. And then he just gets right into it, telling us about the projects that have been approved. And this is why I'm not showing you so much of the background and the setup, because I actually want to show you which projects he has approved and why it is he has approved them and how he is speaking of them. And I'm noticing where we are in time already. And oh my God, yeah, it's going to be hard to do this in the amount of time that I would want it to. But let's get to it either way. So here is the first bit of the projects that have actually approved. I mentioned a few of them in English, then he switched to French to speak about some of them going in Quebec, and I have translated that or pre-translated that, so I'll be able to tell you what he said specifically on that, and then go back to the next projects of the ones that are approved. So this is going to be in 3 small little blocks. First him, then me saying what he said in French, and then him back again completing the list of the projects that have been advanced to go forward.
As you know, Canada's new government is announcing the first set of projects that we believe are both in Canada's national interest and are feasible to be built. The proponents behind the first tranche of these projects have already done much of the hard work. They've undertaken already extensive consultations with Indigenous peoples, consultations that meet the standards of existing legislation. They've worked extensively with provincial and territorial governments and local authorities and already meet many of the necessary regulatory standards. The government is referring them to the Major Projects Office to be shepherded across the finish line. The office will help these proponents achieve any remaining regulatory and permitting approvals and, importantly, secure the necessary financing. Critically, the office will recommend to the federal government the best course to complete each project approval quickly, so proponents can make smart investment decisions. This is the first tranche of projects. We expect the second tranche of projects to be announced by the Grey Cup. So these first projects are, and I'll go them in order. First, LNG Canada Phase 2, its expansion in northern British Columbia. This will directly help transform our country into an energy superpower. This project will double LNG Canada's production capacity and make it the second largest liquefied natural gas facility of its kind in the world. It will diversify our trading partners, help meet global demand for secure, low-carbon energy, and support tens of thousands of new high-paying careers. And leveraging Canada's sustainable advantage, its emissions are projected to be 35% lower than the world's best-performing LNG facilities and 60% lower than the global average. Second project is the Darlington New Nuclear Phase 1. This project will make Canada the first G7 country to have an operational small modular nuclear reactor. It will drive $500 million annually, every year, into Ontario's nuclear supply chain. Once complete, Darlington's first of 4 planned SMR units will provide reliable, affordable, clean power to 300,000 homes, while sustaining 3,700 jobs every year over the next 65 years. And all of that in addition to 18,000 skilled trade jobs during construction. At its full potential, Darlington's SMRs will provide enough electricity to reliably and safely power 1.2 million homes, more than the total number of households in Edmonton and Calgary combined. And by moving early and at scale, we can take advantage of Canadian expertise to build value chains here at home, maximizing the number of jobs for our skilled trades and engineers. Troisièmement, le terminal du Contrecoeur.
So you will notice in these first 2 projects that the Prime Minister has spoken of, both of them have, you'll notice that he speaks about what the project can bring. If there is a particularly green component to it, that he highlights it. When he was talking about the twinning of LNG in Kitimat, that pipeline, talking about, it being the second largest project of the size of that kind in the world, but how it performs environmentally with regard to climate. So when he's talking about climate competitiveness, because this project will be so much more climate efficient, for lack of a better term, than any others, for people and nations, for example, who are looking to reduce their carbon footprint if they switch from whatever fossil fuel they are using at the moment to that type of fossil fuel, and include it in the design of their projects, then that might make us a more desirable choice for them to source their energy. than anywhere else, which gives us a climate competitiveness edge over people and other nations. Particularly, if we're talking about Europe, there's going to be a climate border adjustment mechanism. So, and there are certain products that you will not be able to sell in Europe at some point if they do not meet the climate test, if they do not meet the climate threshold for being green enough. So, this is a type of way where we can be more competitive with other nations, is that if you can, by using Canadian hydroelectric power or LNG or nuclear power from small reactors, as is the second announcement, then maybe your products will be more attractive, will be greener, and you will have more markets into which you will be able to sell them, more high value markets in which you will be able to sell them, which then brings us more business because we have a climate competitiveness edge. You will also notice that for a lot of these announcements that he will also focus on the number of jobs or how much how much in dollars estimated dollars of economic or commercial activity they could generate. So for each one of these projects, he's trying to make the point that yes, this is a project. It's a project of national importance, but wherever possible in that project, if there is a climate link to it, and the first two already have a climate link there, less polluting forms of energy than others, and how efficiently that they can operate. He will focus on the jobs. He will focus on prospective or projected economic returns, and where also applicable, he will focus on elements of either Indigenous partnership or ownership. And for each of the announcements, he singles out one or several of these four elements. So while he's announcing projects and economic activity, he's also announcing the level of, again, method, rigor, thoughtfulness, thoroughness that have gone into the selection of these projects, and how these projects, for all intents and purposes, twofers, some of them threefers, how they meet several other goals that he has established along the way. So even though these other goals he's established along the way are not the primary focus of the announcement, because they have been thought of and embedded throughout the process, through the selection and whatnot. And they're part of the reasons for which these particular projects were selected. Again, and talking to us like adults. So he's mentioned the first two, and the third one here, he's talking in French because it is the port project in Contrecoeur, so the Contrecoeur terminal at the Port of Montreal. And he says terminals and export ports are projects of national interest that supply the necessary infrastructure to diversify commerce, open up new markets, and reduce costs for Canadian businesses. That's why I'm asking the Major Projects Office to collaborate with the Port of Montreal in order to determine how to advance the port development work at the Contrecoeur terminal. This project will allow the creation of 5,000 jobs during the construction phase and 1,000 permanent jobs during its operation, generating up to $140 million per year in added commercial value across Canada. And moreover, this project will allow our businesses and industries to increase exports to new markets. Because if we are indeed going to be increasing trade with Europe and Asia and potentially even South America and Mexico, well, we have to have the infrastructure there to be able to get our products to those markets. And that would involve, of course, ports, and having ports that are modern and effective, scaled up, greener, enlarged if needed, to be able to handle the additional economic activity that will be taking place. If we are producing more, and if we are sending more of what we produce to nations other than the United States, then we have to be able to get those things there. And so this is a project that will help with that. All right, we move on to the next projects here that he has on the list, the ones that have been approved. So, kits and cubs. And now I'm getting the spinning wheel of death. Tech, I do know why you hate me, because I love you. But here we go.
We know that critical minerals and mining are industries of national interest in and of themselves because they can reinforce our prosperity, build our security, diversify our markets, and advance reconciliation. And to these ends, we are referring the McKinvena Bay Foran Copper Mine in east central Saskatchewan and the Red Chris Copper and Gold Mine in northwestern BC. Foran will strengthen Canada's position as a global supplier of critical minerals for clean energy, advanced manufacturing, and modern infrastructure. It'll create 400 jobs, boost the local economies in Saskatchewan and Quebec, where the copper will be smelted, and is expected to be the first net zero copper project in Canada. In northwestern BC, the Red Chris Copper and Gold Mine will be another carbon neutral copper mine, increasing Canada's copper production by more than 15%. It'll employ around 1,500 workers at peak during construction and 800 during operations. It will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by over 70%. Working in close collaboration with the Tahltan Nation, it's an important step in reconciliation and further developing the potential of northern BC. And it's part of a bigger package, because relatedly, we're also tasking the office to begin close consideration of the proposed new Northwest Critical Conservation Corridor. This is an initiative that presents multiple opportunities for critical minerals development and clean power transmission, including potential interties to the Yukon and Alberta. It's a project, it's an initiative that has the prospect of significant Indigenous project leadership, while creating a potential conservation area the size of Greece. Combined, these 5 projects will generate more than $60 billion for the Canadian economy and create tens of thousands of high-paying careers for our workers.
So there you go. Those are the 5 projects. When I was watching this, again, total aside, I was distracted by this guy here, the plaid shirt, the plaid jacket and all that. And I'm thinking, gee, who invited Don Cherry to the announcement? I'm just getting major Don Cherry vibes there. So again, the next few projects that are being announced, again, you will see some focus on Indigenous partnership and leadership in there, which is also very good. Again, the last one that he mentioned, coupled with the creation of a conservation area the size of Greece, which is pretty interesting. Now, in those projects, there is one, however, that is causing a little bit of concern, not so much the project, but more the partner. He was talking about Red Chris mining in there as one of those projects, one of the copper projects that would be net zero. But there was an article in Business Intelligence for BC that came yesterday from Stéphane Labbé that says that BC's Environment Ministry has once again fined the Red Chris Copper and Gold Mine for failing to monitor its groundwater, even as Canada's federal government fast-tracked the mine's expansion as one of 5 nation-building projects. The currently active mining site and processing plant is slated for an expansion that would boost Canada's overall copper output by 15%, providing a crucial critical mineral for electronics, renewable energy products, and electric vehicles. In a decision released this week, the BC Ministry of Environment and Parks penalized Newcrest Red Chris Mining Limited $12,685 for failing to conduct required hydroecological monitoring, a key requirement to monitor the flow of mine-impacted effluent into the environment. The open pit mining site also has a processing plant for the production of copper and gold concentrate, a waste rock storage area, and a tailings impoundment area where waste material is stored. As part of its permit, the company is required to monitor key parameters in its waste discharge, including metals, nutrients, and organics, but it failed to do so continuously between August 2022 and December 2023, according to a decision from Stephanie Little, Director of the Environmental Management Act. The violations were repeated on another 12 dates between 2022 and 2024, when the company failed to collect required data on water levels and analytics in more than 40 test events. Newcrest has received multiple warning letters in recent years and has been penalized on multiple occasions, the latest a $10,394 penalty on June 2025 for having inadequate water quality monitoring programs. I'm going to guess here that these fines are not high enough. Because the company here seems to be, again, treating them as the cost of doing business because they keep on making the same mistakes. The ministry has previously found the company was out of compliance for not conducting groundwater monitoring in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say that the company keeps on repeating the same mistakes. The company keeps on refusing to comply. These are choices. The latest penalty was increased 30% because the failures were repeated and continuous, and another 30% because of the deliberate nature of the failure. So these are penalties with 60% increases. That lets you know how low the penalties are. These are increased penalties for repeated and deliberate failures to comply with their obligations, and they only amount to 10,394. These fines we need to add some zeros to these if you want these companies to do the right thing. These are not fines. Uh, these are the costs of permission slips. Newcrest, which is jointly owned by the Newmont Corporation and the Red Chris Development Company, is a subsidiary of Imperial Metals Corporation. They have 30 days to appeal the decision. Imperial Metals deferred questions to Newmont, which by the time of publication had not responded to questions from Business Intelligence for BC. The mine was in the spotlight earlier this summer after 3 workers were trapped underground for roughly 60 hours before a successful rescue attempt. Once the expansion is complete, the mine is expected to employ about 800 people. In March 2025, an investigative report from Skeena Wild Conservation Trust claimed a lack of government oversight and regulations have led to contamination and risked tailings dam safety at the Red Chris mine. The report, which was largely based on documents accessed through Freedom of Information Act, says the mine has failed to develop effective water treatment plans to protect downstream environments. Selenium concentrations were already found to be elevated at 2 lakes downstream, and an unexpected lack of water has complicated impacts to aquatic species. The Red Chris mine's tailings dam, meanwhile, was found to use the same foundation materials associated with the Mount Poly Dam failure, a 2014 incident that sent 25 million cubic meters of mine waste, water, and construction materials downriver in what would become North America's biggest such failure on record. Dam construction at the Red Chris mine was overseen by Imperial Metals Corp and the engineering firm AMEC. Both oversaw the construction of the Mount Poly Dam before it failed. At the Red Chris site, the Skeena Wild report found the tailings dam construction has also repeatedly failed to meet targets, increasing the likelihood of failure, and concluded that dam failure modeling and emergency planning faced multiple shortcomings, increasing risks to people and the environment downstream from the mine. So while this particular project is one that is exciting in the fact that it could be a net zero mining operation for copper, which is very needed, the particular company with which we are entrusting this development does not seem to be a particularly good corporate citizen. So I do not know if there have been any discussions between the Prime Minister specifically, or the Minister of Environment, or the Minister of Industry specifically, and this corporation with regard to this that says, we are going to put you on this list, but you really, really need to shape up. So this is one about which we should be concerned specifically and should be watching very closely, because this appears to be a company, as it says here in the report when they were fined, deliberate failures. So they are going out of their way to not comply. That is concerning. So while the project is exciting, the project partner for this particular one much less so. So, yeah, that might be something we need to keep our eyes open for here. Oh, wow. Okay. This is the first tranche or slice of projects, um, right? Again, l- lots of focus on environmental issues, net zero, alternative forms of energy that are less polluting, uh, organizations or operations that, even though they are somewhat polluting, significantly less than other operations in the world, therefore setting industry standards in that sense. Uh, so again, a lot of thoughtfulness. The only blip in that one is, of course, the selection of that particular company. And like I said, hopefully, because the prime minister is putting a lot of his own personal capital, political capital behind that, hopefully the conversations that were needed to be had and the guarantees that were required in order to make sure that the execution and this is a word I have trouble saying in English. I can't say it. I can say it in French, but not in English. Uh, uh, the operations phase of this project will indeed comply with all regulations, because I have a feeling that this is a prime minister that who doesn't like being embarrassed. So I would hope that those discussions and guarantees have been obtained in this particular case. Um, we have some comments from the kids here. Kitlin M saying, just contrast Carney's approach to the way Ford is running roughshod for the Ring of Fire, ignoring instead of consulting the same Indigenous partners he apologized to not long ago. Indeed, 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 Kitlinda. That's a very, very good point. I'm glad you raised that there. And Kit PNC Bio making some great comments about the value of having a central banker, a former central banker, as prime minister for this type of thing here. Saying here, um, uh, being a progressive that has had pretty good success in business, I can't imagine a better way to attack our current problems. And he said previously here, oh, the comment disappeared. Sorry, I'm a little behind on the chat. And sorry, PNC Bio, I wanted to read your previous comment into it as well, which was very good. Even and more to the point of what it is that I highlighted that you had said. But unfortunately, it has already left my screen. So these are the first initial projects. But again, as I mentioned, Kits and Cubs, there is a list of other projects that the Prime Minister is considering. And this is the second group, the ones that he says that will, from which there will be another announcement prior or by the time of the Grey Cup. And here he has asked, and you will hear him say that, he has asked the Major Projects Office to create a specific business development unit within it as well, that would allow these projects to go through the process required to see which of them will become projects of national interest, and which ones might have to be left behind because either they are not feasible or they still do need more work. So here too, he's going to make some initial announcements. Then he's going to say one in French, and then he's going to come back. So this will be in 3 blocks as well. Here, Kids and Cubs. But here we go. The Prime Minister. The timestamp is at the right spot for it, so I can just bring them up on screen and have him talk away. Take it away, Prime Minister.
But as I said at the outset, and I will continue to stress, these 5 projects are just the beginning. Canada's new government also believes that there are several strategies that can be truly transformative for our country. Transformative because they help to connect our regions, because they help unlock our potential across a range of products and markets and technologies. But these strategies are also at an earlier stage, and they require further development. We want to accelerate that development. So today I'm asking Don's team at the Major Project Office to create a business development unit to work with proponents on these transformative strategies to assess how quickly we can transform their potential into reality. And I want to go through these strategies. First, the Major Projects Office will dedicate itself to the development of regulations, financing, structure, and value chains to accelerate Canada's overall production and processing of highly strategic critical minerals. Opportunities include Ontario's Ring of Fire, the mineral-rich Slave geological area in the Northwest Territories, and the Labrador Trough, la Fosse du Labrador, shared by Quebec and Labrador. From first-mile infrastructure that surfaces these opportunities from our land to last-mile connections that link these projects to reliable long-term purchasers around the world, we can build the bridge from mine to magnet, turning raw potential into engines of resilient industry, of clean power, and enhanced security for our country. Secondly, the Major Projects Office will examine how to advance large-scale clean power with the Wind West Atlantic Energy. This Nova Scotia-based project will transform Atlantic Canada's energy supply, electricity supply, and create enormous opportunities for new industries and export markets. It has the full potential to produce 60 gigawatts of clean electricity, equivalent to over 1/4 of Canada's entire demand. It's part of a broader Energy East partnership amongst the Atlantic provinces. And with Wind West, this partnership could include important interties between New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. Transmission cables between PEI and New Brunswick and Newfoundland could develop the next phase of Labrador's work with Churchill Falls and Gull Island. Third, we're also referring the Pathways or Pathways Plus project to the Major Projects Office. Pathways is an Alberta-based carbon capture, utilization and storage project which could achieve enormous emissions reductions, taking the equivalent of the emissions of 90% of all the cars and trucks in Alberta off the road, all while facilitating new growth in the oil sands. By pairing investments in Pathways with a new pipeline to a variety of markets. Pathways represents the opportunity to create a major new industry in carbon capture and storage, and an essential technology for global decarbonization. Our plan for major nation-building projects is anchored in new corridors that connect our economy, enhance our security, and build transportation networks across this vast country and to the wider world. And that's why we're referring the Arctic Economic and Security Corridor, a new Arctic port and all-weather road and port infrastructure that will link Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and the Prairie provinces. The Arctic Corridor will open up promising advanced stage mineral projects through critical links from port to port to port. And with increasingly open Arctic waters, rapid advances in cyber, artificial intelligence, and quantum, paired with advanced missile capacities of our adversaries, we can no longer rely on our geography to protect us. We must fortify Canada's sovereignty and our security in the Arctic. We'll do that in two ways. By creating a new port at Grays Bay and unlocking our resources, we can assert our economic sovereignty while building our defenses. Fifth, we are referring Port of Churchill Plus as part of a larger vision to unlock Indigenous-owned energy and transportation corridor in Manitoba. With proposals for port upgrades, upgrades to rail, an energy corridor, and marine ice-breaking capability, the port would offer an alternative to West and East Coast routes, reduce Canada's reliance on a single energy corridor, and generate more than $1 billion annually in economic activity. This project would be developed in close cooperation with Manitoba's new Crown Indigenous Corporation. Sixièmement,
All right.
j'ai
So
aussi
we
demandé au
go there,
Bureau des Grands
to the next project, the one, and I just posted some chat comments on that. But the sixth project and the one that he is mentioning here in French is indeed the high-speed rail link from Quebec City onto, I can't remember if it's only to Toronto or if it's all the way to Windsor. Sorry, get some cups. Pardon me. Sorry, something went down the wrong hole. Sorry. So here in French, he mentions, I have also asked the Major Projects Office to work with the Minister of Transportation so that we may start the construction of Alto, the high-speed rail network, within 4 years rather than 8. The first high-speed train in Canada will be able to reach speeds of 300 kilometers an hour. Travelers will be able to get between Montreal and Toronto in fewer than 3 hours. It's also a project that will create 51,000 jobs during the construction phase and inject up to $35 billion into our gross domestic product, with an objective of reducing 25,000 tons of CO2 emissions. So again, very interesting project, one that people have been asking for a long time here in Canada. And yeah, this is definitely going to be something that's in demand. So from Quebec City to Toronto was announced by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on February 19th, 2025. It was one of his last big announcements before leaving office. And at the time, people were wondering, well, is this going to happen? And on the show, I said, well, maybe this is something that he had discussed and he is making the big announcement himself, which allows then Mark Carney to come in as the following leader of the party and at the time, hopefully prime minister, and say, well, he announced it, so I've got to pursue it. But this will be interesting as well because, you want to move goods, yes, but if you want a nimble economy as well, you want to be able to move people quickly as well. So yeah, if you can do Montreal to Toronto within 3 hours, that definitely in this very populated area of Canada makes it very much more easy to have people with the knowledge and the expertise to be able to go from site to site and to be able to it expands the range at which people can work and travel, and that business can happen. It also reduces a lot of air travel, because if you can do Montreal to Toronto in fewer than 3 hours on a train, when you think about the time that it takes you to leave home to get to the airport, the time at the airport you need to be there before, because then the flight time when you land, disembarking, getting from the airport again to where you need to get in the city, that's probably more than 3 hours, right? And traveling by train is much more environmentally efficient than traveling by air. So again, could reduce a lot of CO2 emissions. And on that subject, I saw something in the chat yesterday, and I had confirmed it. Kit Environmental Coffee House has got her YouTube channel back. So a lot of work. She had to do a lot of advocacy. It seems that somebody, one of her viewers, actually went down to Google in California and personally filed some type of complaint, which I guess got somebody to look at it again, and her channel has been restored. So great celebration here because she does some really amazing work, and it was really a shame that she got targeted and smeared in the way that she did. But it seems that her work has been returned to her, and so has her channel, and she is back to doing all the good stuff that she was doing before. Not that she had stopped in the meantime. She also had MacGyvered it and found another way to get stuff done. But it's nice that has happened. So, Kit Environmental Coffee House, our hats off to you for fighting that as hard as you needed to do it, and believing in your product so much that you would go to the wall for it in that manner, and for making your product in such a way that your viewers valued it to the point that they would assist you in that manner, that they would take it upon themselves to go up to the head office and advocate for you. That's absolutely amazing. Uh, we hope that we have a relationship like that with our audience, because that you've built some trust and you've built something really great if your audience was willing to do that for you. So I'm very happy to be able to make that announcement as well, because good work deserves to be promoted and celebrated. Just an aside there. So yeah, the high-speed train, and of course, all those other projects that he had mentioned previous to that. So the Wind West Atlantic Energy, a project that we had mentioned before. We had a specific episode on that one when Premier Houston had made his big announcement of expanding it from just, I think, 5 to 6 gigawatts to up to 66 gigawatts of production, which would meet the needs of a quarter of all of Canada's electricity needs. Again, clean power. The Alberta-based Pathways Plus Carbon Capture pipeline project. Carbon capture is still controversial. I saw that there was an article in The Guardian talking about the UK's push for climate capture and storage. And I think the article was titled something like carbon capture, the get out of jail free card that doesn't work. So still some pessimism about the technology, but Daniel Smith specifically, mentioned in Regina that there was some type of grand bargain, that if they could get the Pathways Plus Carbon Capture project underway and it could prove itself, then that could create the permission structure for the pipeline that she wants. And interestingly enough, because there was no pipeline specifically in the list of the first 5 projects, a lot of people were losing their minds. Brian Lilly from The Sun started losing his mind before the announcement, when there was some leaks and some speculation about what would be on and not on it, and it was saying, this is like some type of terrible insult or whatnot, that there wasn't such a project. But you also had Andrew Scheer, I think, yesterday coming up with his own take on it. And he's been having very bad takes on a lot of things lately. But Andrew Scheer was like, what kind of energy superpower refuses to even put a pipeline on its list of national projects? Carney's priorities tell Canadians everything. More red tape, less investment, fewer jobs. That's not leadership, it's surrender. So, yeah, it seems that the Conservatives believe that all we need to do is build a pipeline and everything will be fine. That's it. The solution to all our problems. Cut taxes, cut red tape, build a pipeline, and then probably throw a whole lot more people in jail. Right? It's just, I mean, come on. Ay, 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 ay. But yeah, that's Andrew Scheer's bad take there. And if, Dale Smith, journalist, turns around and just asks the question that kills, la question qui tue, which proposal is awaiting federal approval? Name it. So again, the Conservatives acting in a world, uh, choosing to exist in a world of their own creation, in which there's a pipeline just waiting to go, with a proponent willing to put the money behind it, and all Prime Minister Carney has to do is say yes. And why won't he say yes? Because there's nothing to say yes to. It's that simple. So again, I do not know what the Conservative Party of Canada is doing. They say that they want to be a government in waiting, but they keep on interacting online like they are living in some type of la la land, crying about approvals not given for projects that do not exist. I'm I'm beyond being able to understand what it is that this party uh, is trying to accomplish. If it wants to, it just seems that we're just going to get mad because because. and then just say that the government is terrible. But if there's no project presented to approve, one should not be surprised that it's not on the list. And I do not know why you would seek to draw attention to yourself in this manner. Um, but okay. Meanwhile, while the Conservative Party of Canada is losing its mind, someone must have body snatched Danielle Smith because um, she is rather happy with these announcements as they have been made, and so much so, well, not well, yeah, so much so. It was not the reaction I was expecting from her, which led me to think, okay, who are you and what have you done to Danielle Smith? Did someone body snatch her? Or something of the sort? But no, Danielle Smith is speaking positively uh, of this, even though there isn't specifically on the list. Now, of course, we had a hint that this would be coming because she did have that one-on-one meeting with the prime minister, and it seems that she was very, very, very happy with how that meeting transpired as well. So maybe not as much as a surprise, given how she came out of that meeting, being, uh, having some positive things to say and being hopeful. But yeah, after this announcement was made, uh, she is not upset, but the Conservative Party of Canada is choosing to be upset, and I think that maybe, some people didn't have a coordinating phone call of some kind, because you would think that the various factions of the Conservative Party or the Conservative movement in Canada would have taken the time to consult on whether or not they were going to trash this or, express, some optimism, and that has not seemed to happen. Uh, According to the CBC, Alberta Premier praises national interest projects even if a pipeline isn't on the list. This is according to Emily Williams and Lauren Krugel. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says she sees promising signs in the first batch of projects announced under Ottawa's new fast-tracked approval process. Oil and gas industry experts are also heartened to see the list and commitment to fast-tracking complex projects in Canada, even if it isn't a pipeline for Alberta anytime soon. But environmentalists say the inclusion of liquefied natural gas locks Canada into a high carbon future. So that is going on. I'm sorry, kits and cubs. I need to take a look at something. Okay, yes, everything is indeed fine. Okay. Prime Minister Mark Carney has named the first 5 proposals to be referred to the new major projects office based in Calgary, which aims to speed development of projects deemed in the national interest. Smith said when she looked at the list, she thought leaders in Ottawa finally, quote, get it, and that it shows a shift in government from the Trudeau era. Speaking in Edmonton, Smith said she found more common ground with the Prime Minister when she met with him this week than she has in any meeting with a Prime Minister. Quote, I would encourage Albertans to not lose faith in the process. Let's work together on it because we're all stronger together. She also took to social media following her face-to-face to say that although there are details to be worked out, the concerns of Albertans, quote, are, quote, finally being heard. Carney too told reporters he had a, quote, great meeting with Smith and they made headway. Quote, I'm confident that we'll continue to make progress in the coming weeks ahead, he said. Smith had previously said she wanted an oil pipeline among the first projects approved by Ottawa, particularly one that would connect the oil sands to northern British Columbia. She told reporters Thursday that she's realistic about the fact that conditions must be right for private investment to step up and partner in building a pipeline. Now, I'm reading this, and what I hear And I don't know if this is the case, but what I hear when I read this is, yeah, I am nowhere near finding a proponent, and I need to buy some time. So I am going to praise these lists of projects, and I'm going to say that things are going very well, and that I'm hopeful, and that I've never had such a good meeting, in the hopes that that type of rhetoric, rather than Ottawa's trying to destroy us, and we need to get rid of all these 9 laws and gut these things, and all the time, and Ottawa, 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 while pushing for separation, which creates an unstable business environment. Well, maybe she's deciding to tamper that down a little bit in order to increase her odds of finding a proponent, because it is proving a little more difficult than she had first assumed. And yeah, the fact that she is talking about, you know, there need to be some steps. She understands that there are some steps that need to be um, what's the thing again? Oh, yeah, that she's realistic about the fact that conditions must be right for private investment to step up. Uh, gives me the sign that, to me, that's I interpret that as using euphemisms to say, yeah, I got nothing and nothing's coming anytime soon. So, and she doesn't want to look bad. So, yeah, this is a great list of projects. Wow, Ottawa's finally starting to get it. Yeah, we have a couple more things to work out, but we are on the right track. Just hold tight, Alberta. I will get this done for you. I really will. And, trying to appear calm above the surface of the water while her legs are doing like a duck underwater. Oh my God. Oh my God. Paddle, paddle, paddle. Stall for time. Stall for time. Uh, but yeah. Um, who is this person? What has she done with Danielle Smith? Or what the hell is Mark Carney saying to her? To get her to adopt an entirely different personality than one we have come to know from her. Um, Going back to the article, but removing regulatory hurdles for complex projects can improve investor confidence. Quote, there's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, Smith said. In order to get a pipeline built, industry needs to pledge to increase production, but Smith said that won't happen under current conditions. Quote, we're going to be actively engaged in bringing partners to the table, but it does take the federal government taking those first steps. And then I think we can work collaboratively and get some proponents to come forward. So, in other words, if the federal government has to take those first steps, and let's say that there needs to be some clear shovel, like Alberta Pathways needs to actually be approved, and we need to get to the point where there is shovels in the ground or close to shovels in the ground with regard to that. Um, that pipeline proponent is maybe at least 2 years off, and it's not going to be instant. So, Danielle, if she's come to that realization and the light has gone on, she, of course, would have to change her tactics, because if she doesn't, it's not going to take long. Because again, the conservative movement has a fetish for expediency. Where's that pipeline? You promised you would be able to get it to us in no time flat. Were you lying to us the entire time? And then have the movement turn against her. And she clearly does not want that. So I'm guessing that she is in a strategic repositioning phase at the moment when it comes to that. But others aren't so sure. Quote, Richard Masson, the former CEO of the Alberta Petroleum Marketing Commission, says, I think a pipeline is highly unlikely to move forward anytime soon for a whole bunch of reasons. Masson agrees that policies like the federal emissions cap are hampering investment, but thinks there likely isn't any private partner who has the desire or capacity to build a pipeline in Canada today. But that means there aren't other ways to get more of Alberta's product to market. Masson says Canada could innovate to increase the capacity of existing pipelines or turn to upgrade rail systems. People need to get practical and say, well, what can we do to try to make the existing system work better? Carney's list does include the second phase of LNG Canada in Kitimat, BC, where natural gas piped from Alberta is chilled into a liquid state and loaded onto specialized tankers for export to Asia. Marc Plamondon, the executive director of the Alberta Industrial Heartland Association, said he was heartened to see oil and gas on Carney's list, even if the project isn't in Alberta. Quote, it's all integrated, Plamondon said. So seeing more natural gas and LNG flowing to the west coast is a positive, and then perhaps we'll see a bitumen pipeline at some point in the future. Carney also announced projects that may be added to fast track list after some further development, including Pathways carbon capture project proposed by Alberta's biggest oil sands companies. Quote, nation building should secure Canada's future, not tie us to the polluting past, said Ali Haider Ali, oil and gas program manager at Environmental Defense. Expanding LNG in a climate crisis is a dangerous mistake. So you're getting views from all around, from Alberta and from groups such as Environmental Defense on how they feel about this particular expansion, whether it's oil, whether it's gas in the form of LNG. Um, and then even within the sector, you have like Danielle Smith saying that we can get there, and other people saying, I don't think that there's one coming anytime soon, and maybe we should look at other things, like for example, upgrading rail so that we can ship oil by rail in faster and more efficient manners, because there probably is no pipeline coming soon. Yes, or using technology and better materials or whatever to be able to increase the amount of oil being transported through the pipelines that we already do have. So a whole wide range of different perspectives on this that go to solidify the impression that there may not be. Um, that we are far from consensus on what is going to be a viable project for at least bitumen at the moment, and the fact that there is no proponent in sight at the moment. They are going to, if the proponent is going to invest in this project that can take quite a long time and require several billions of dollars. Um, you know, they have to be pretty damn sure that the climate is going to be stable, and that is going to require Danielle Smith to make some changes in the way that she presents herself and makes her points. Um, and that's the sovereignty issue is going to have to work its way through, given that she's kickstarted and she can't pull back now. But it's going to have to work its way through and then sort of get settled, and then there will need some time to go after it's settled for people to be confident that it is indeed settled before this happens. So she's probably, I would assume, well more than a year off, and potentially two, before she will have any type of proponent for this. And so therefore, we are defaulting to the Pathways project and looking at that, as we mentioned on the show, as laying the groundwork for a potential pipeline to come, and her choosing to be happy about that and choosing to spin it as, well, listen, the project pipeline is still in the works because we are looking at the Pathways thing, and it's a grand bargain. We absolutely need the Pathways thing for the pipeline to come. So we are working on the Pathways thing, which means that we are still working on the pipeline. Of course, we could do the Pathways thing for carbon capture and storage, and let's say it works, and it still never gets to a pipeline, but we still get the advantage of carbon capture and storage if it works. So Prime Minister being a little more clever than the average bear here, as we mentioned, first putting the ball in Danielle's court to find the proponent, and then, sure, yeah, let's move forward potentially with the Pathways thing, which is the green part of this whole grand bargain. And, well, if we ever get to the more polluting part, if this grand bargain, we do. But if we don't, well, at least we still have the green part. Clever, clever, clever. Clever, 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 Mr. Prime Minister. Making sure that things have been placed in the proper order to get the green benefit first, or the green guarantee first, before we move to the pipeline for bitumen, if ever we do. Because that's not a guarantee. Very clever. Very clever. All right. Now we get to the point. I believe this is the point in the announcement when I said the Prime Minister made my nipples hard. And by the way, I did find the comment from PNC Bio. I went to the YouTube stream where the comments are there a little longer. And he said, I actually prefer the idea of a central banker to that of an executive or a lawyer. The central banker has a good idea of how the whole country operates. A central banker's job is to maintain stability. I could not have said it better myself. Eloquently stated, succinct, and with a clear point. That is a fantastic comment, and I might actually steal that from you, Kit PNC Bio, with proper credit, of course. But that is well said, and I agree fully. I'm right with you on that one. I think you're on the right path there in that type of thinking, or at least I agree with you. We might be both on the wrong path with that type of thinking, but I agree with you. I think that this is the right path, the right way to look at it. Okay, so we get to the Prime Minister making a point that makes me very happy. And like I said, didn't have time. I didn't mention it myself, unfortunately, during the course of the show because there was so much news going on. But this is something very important. Uh, on September 2nd, I believe it was. Um, there is a group of people who sent an open letter to the prime minister, uh, and this one caught my attention. This is Peter Zimonjic of CBC News reporting on this. Dozens of experts, academics, and organizations have released an open letter urging Prime Minister Mark Carney to swiftly, quote, defend Canada's digital sovereignty and protect the country from the whims of the Trump administration. The letter says Carney has argued Canada must become an energy superpower and get big projects built, but not spent enough time talking about the need to secure Canada's digital economy. Quote, empires once built railways, now they build algorithms, said Barry Appleton, a Toronto based international trade lawyer and one of the letter's signatories. Let's see. If Canada cannot govern the code that governs Canadians, then we are no longer a sovereign democracy. We will be tenants in Trump's regime. The signatories ask Carney to stake out protections for social media, cloud systems, AI engines, digital transactions, and other data that can be, quote, weaponized by a Trump regime seeking unchallenged technological dominance. The letter said action must be taken because 90% of Canada's internet traffic is currently routed through the US or through US-based tech giants. Those tech giants, the letter said, make more than $20 billion tax-free annually from Canadian digital creators at the expense of Canadian artists. This is one of the reasons for which at the end of the show, when we ask if you're going to donate to do bank-to-bank transfers and buy Canadian, to bypass those companies so that money doesn't go to support them, but remains here in country to support us. It also said that foreign social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook play a big role in shaping Canadian political discussion without domestic oversight. Canada also needs to act now to secure its digital sovereignty, the letter says, because US companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google control most of Canada's cloud infrastructure, and CUSMA trade rules prevent the federal government from requiring those companies to store Canadians' data north of the border. Our data is not stored in Canada. Among the signatories of the letter are Canadian writers Margaret Atwood, John Ralston Saul, filmmaker Adam Egoyan, former Governor General Adrian Clarkson, and organizations such as the Canadian Civil Liberties Association and the Canadian Medical Association. They want the Liberal government to take a number of steps to reestablish Canada's digital sovereignty, including launching a public consultation with Canadians and experts on the issue. Once experts and the public have had the chance to weigh in, the signatories want the federal government to publish an independent threat assessment on Canada's digital infrastructure. That would be followed by updating the Consumer Privacy Protection Act and Online Harms Act, a bill tabled by the Trudeau Liberals that died on the order paper and which the Carney government is considering reviving. The letter also calls on the federal government to consider its decision to kill the digital services tax, which the Liberal government canceled in June amid threats from the Trump administration. However, this is a tax, even though we killed it in this form, as we mentioned on the show, that could come back in about a year or two from now, and we do it in coordination with the Europeans, who are definitely moving forward on this project. And we did ours to get ahead of the Europeans because the process seemed to be stalling at that point. But it seems that now that the Europeans definitely have much more motivation, given what Trump has done, to get this on the road. We have the luxury of killing our own initiative and then probably coordinating with Europeans to bring this back in some form in about a year or two from now. So for those out there who are claiming, oh, it's elbows down, we make concessions, we got nothing from it. Don't assume the digital service taxes is dead. It might just be sleeping, waiting to come back in another format with and show up with friends. Let's put it that way. And the second Tories want the Liberal government to, quote, withdraw entirely the deeply flawed anti-privacy Bill C2, the Strong Borders Act. The legislation was introduced in June and currently sits at second reading. The Strong Borders Act would give increased powers to Canada's security and intelligence services, expand the ability to open and inspect mail, and allow officials to cancel or suspend immigration documents. The legislation also proposes changes to the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, the Oceans Act, the Sex Offender Information Registration Act, the Criminal Code, and the Canadian Security Intelligence Services Act, among others. The letter says BLC2 opens the door to unprecedented surveillance and cross-border data sharing with the U.S. that, under President Trump, has become increasingly unreliable, authoritarian, and out of step with liberal democracies around the world. A spokesperson for Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation, Evan Solomon, acknowledged the letter but didn't say if the government would be following any of its recommendations. That was on September 2nd. Quote, Canadians have made it clear that they want trusted digital platforms and protections, and we are committed to implementing regulation that is clear without hindering innovation and growth, the spokesperson said in an email. Quote, we want to acknowledge the work put into this report and thank the Canadians who have worked to provide their recommendations. So, given that, these words from the Prime Minister made me happy because this is definitely an issue of national security, national sovereignty. And, we had all this discussion about foreign interference. We had the report come out, and then it just seemed to have fallen flat, and we did nothing with it. So this is something that could boost economic activity while increasing national security and creating a line of defense in the international battle when it comes to foreign interference. So, kids and cubs, you will enjoy this.
Finally, we will ask the Major Projects Office to begin assisting in the development of a Canadian sovereign cloud. This would build compute capacity and data centers that we need to underpin Canada's competitiveness, to protect our security, and to boost our independence and sovereignty. This will give Canada independent control over advanced computing power, while reinforcing our leadership in AI and quantum. Taken together, these projects can deliver transformational benefits to Canadians, driving growth in jobs and incomes for decades, diversifying our energy sources and our markets, connecting our country, and connecting our country with the world.
Okay, kids and cubs. A Canadian digital cloud. Again, I might just be a big old nerd, but when I heard him say that, I was like, fuck yeah. It's about damn time somebody is talking about this. Um, you know, and again, let's go all the way here. Let's not stop there. Let's talk about our foreign media ownership laws. Let's talk about, again, boosting civics education and critical thinking education. And let's have this whole suite of things, when we're talking about shoring us up from foreign interference, but making sure that our digital information can be stored in country is kind of important. Making sure that there is maybe we do need some type of Canadian version of Twitter or Facebook or something of the sort that should some of these companies decide that they are not going to be helpful to us, like Facebook has when it didn't want to subscribe to the policy that would allow us to share Canadian news on it. that will no longer be a thing. They can no longer hold that sword over our heads because we have a Canadian-based social media platform that most Canadians decide to join in some way or shape or form. There's lots of avenues here and lots of things to think of because with the amount of personal information that we are sharing online, it is probably uh, and with our most or traditionally most reliable partner deciding to turn back on us and deciding to go a whole different way that is extremely concerning. um, we might not want to rely on that anymore. We would not might not want to rely on their goodwill anymore. It's a bit like line 5 when it comes to oil, right? We've never had to worry about it because, well, we were the best friends with the longest undefended border and, most peaceful, border to border relationship in the world and that type of thing. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore. We have someone who can decide, you know what? Yeah, just cut off line 5 and let those Canadian bastards freeze in the dark rather than just the Eastern bastards freeze in the dark. And what do we do in that case? Because that decision could be quick and could be sudden, and we could find ourselves in a situation like Europe was, a year or two ago when Russia was doing what it was doing, and it had to reorient how it was going to supply itself with energy relatively quickly. So, uh, if we don't want to be surprised that way and be caught with our pants around our ankles, we have to start thinking of these things as very uh, not just fantastical, but actual possible, plausible, and credible things that the United States could choose to do to us somewhere along the way and start shoring up our defenses. Uh, well, yesterday would have been a great day to do it, but today is the next best day to do it for all intents and purposes. This is stuff that we should have done a long time ago, but we just had so much blind trust and blind faith in this relationship that had lasted for so long and was serving us so well. And just, none of us, none of us, no, okay, I can't speak for all of us. I will speak for me personally. Uh, I never thought until a few years ago, never thought whatsoever that the United States one day would turn around and try to become, uh, I won't say our biggest enemy, um, but would turn out to be way more frenemy than friend. The United States did things to us now and then that made us say, "Hey, hey, 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 what's going on here? I thought we were friends." That's not new, but nothing on the level that is currently going on now. Um, so it's a bit of a eyes wide open time for a lot of us, particularly those of us who grew up, with the concept that the United States was a friend. We were cousins, or you know, uh, not the case anymore, right? As we keep on saying on the show, countries don't have friends; they have interests, and the United States' interests have changed dramatically, and we're not part of the picture as much anymore as we were. So we have to find our own way, and we have to make adjustments relatively quickly, which is what we are doing. But you know, it, it's a new world. We, uh, I am seeing the world in way different ways today than I did 5 years ago, than I did 10 years ago. All based on how the administration in the United States specifically has changed. Of course, you know, um, we also had a time when R- Russia hadn't. Well, I can't even say that because they did it in Georgia and Chechnya, right? That part of going in and taking other people's territory. So, but yeah, it wasn't necessarily top of mind. I wasn't worried about it being able to happen here 10 years ago as I am now after seeing what Russia has pulled with Ukraine. And the United States not necessarily um, being all in on the concept that we don't go into other nations and say this is mine now. Uh, that's something we used to be able to rely upon, at least so we thought, but we can't anymore. So with these grounds that are shifting rather rapidly, um, this announcement of a secured and pursuing more digital sovereignty to have a Canadian cloud is something that is vital, is necessary, doesn't get talked about a lot. And I'm glad that this group of people were able to make such a strong impression that this was included in this announcement, even though it isn't a project that has come from the premiers or the Indigenous community. It's just another project, basically a citizen suggested project that has somehow made it onto the list. This is good. This is a man who is thinking about keeping us whole and keeping us safe, clearly. And again, just another reason for me to have a lot more trust and confidence in Prime Minister Carney, even though he's not doing absolutely everything I like and everything that I would want. No Prime Minister does. But that one is a major one. That one's a major one, and that one definitely has my support. All right. Moving on here a little bit, we're getting to the point where he's getting close to finishing the announcement. And in the question and answer section, I'm not going to delve into it too much, but there are two questions in particular that I wanted to bring the question and answer to you. But he's getting close here to finishing his statements. So, often these speeches come with a little bit of a rallying thing at the end. So, as I tend to say, because uh, uh, we need to change the meaning of the sentence, bring it home, take it away from Pierre, and make it something a little more positive. So, Prime Minister, after impressing us with your thoroughness and explaining to us and showing us how some of these things could increase our climate competitiveness and the jobs they could bring and the economic activity it could bring, and even going so far as mentioning a digital cloud and finding a way to somehow get Daniel Smith to not be angry, would you please, sir, bring it home?
Throughout our history, Canadians have turned challenges into opportunities. In fact, Canada itself is a project. It's a project built and improved by the strength of its people. We've connected a landmass that spans almost 5,000 kilometers. We've built ports that unlock trade with new markets and reliable partners across the world's oceans. We've built new seaways to realize the potential of our Great Lakes economy. We've transformed Canada into a strong nation, a nation whose best chapters are still to be written. We've built big things before as Canadians, and we will again. Now, this is a moment of big disruption and profound change. We bear the same responsibilities as those became before us, and we should hold the same ambitions. To become the strongest economy in the G7, Canada must act now, invest now, precisely when it's hard. And by moving forward today, we won't just catalyze new ports, energy corridors, other engines of progress. We'll also open the bounds of Canada's imagination about the future that we can build for each other. Dawn told me just the other day that she's already received, and you've been there 11 days, so this would have been 8 days in, you'd already received hundreds of emails filled with ideas of future projects that could rise to these standards. Her inbox is proof that Canada's ready.
And there you go, kits and cubs. So the prospect of not only more to come, but much, much more to come. Now, kits and cubs, I'm going to bring you two questions. There were a lot of questions after it, and I would suggest that you watch the whole thing to find out what was asked. But two questions that come up along with this are these is how much federal money is going to go into these projects specifically? Is the federal government going to be some type of backer, financer of it? Uh, or are we looking strictly for different type of investments coming from elsewhere. I know, like, for example, for the pipeline, if there is going to be one, Danielle Smith is on the record several times as having said, you know, she doesn't want it to be something that the governments are paying to build, because that, in her mind, would be a failure. So, in this sense, the issue of money, because these are big projects, always comes up. Who is going to pay? Where's the money going to come from? That type of stuff. So the prime minister was asked this rather point blank, and this, Kits and Cubs, is what he had to say when asked the question. So here, mute on the thing, and here's the prime minister.
Madam.
I'm not going to ask that question. Stephanie Lennox, the Global Mail. I'm going to go back to the Today announcement. I wonder if you could talk to us about the money, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Who is paying for these? Are any of these projects getting new federal money? How will this financing be set up?
Well, thank you very much for that. This is an incredibly important question. Obviously, it's an incredibly important question, but I'm glad you're putting it on the table. First thing to recognize is the first contribution of the federal government is to be much more efficient and effective in the regulatory approvals and other approvals that are necessary, without changing the standards, to be clear, meeting our standards, but getting much more effective. That doesn't cost much money. It's a process issue. It's an issue of us being organized better, working more effectively, sharing information, working in parallel. It costs an enormous amount of money for the private sector proponents of these projects, the current situation where they don't know how long it's going to last, and they spend constant years and years. So we get out of the way. Let me put one example on that. The TGV, the high-speed rail, high-speed rail. Each year, we're looking to move from 8-year process to get the final siting approvals to 4. Each of those years that we save saves up to $2 billion for the projects. It's an enormous amount of money. Enormous amount of money that is better spent building a climate-friendly, efficient transportation network that links a big part of our country. Okay, that's the first part. Second, we expect with these projects, I'll make one exception to this, we expect with the vast majority of these projects that federal dollars will catalyze many multiples of private dollars. Okay. You look at LNG Canada, LNG Canada 2, Tim, total capital cost is 32, yeah, I was going to, okay, $32 billion. There is relatively minor, relative to that $30 billion capital cost, federal incentives that we're discussing as part of that, and we'll take the advice of Dawn and her team on what makes sense, what's necessary. By the way, when you're having those discussions, it's great to have someone who spent 4 decades basically doing that and understanding the economics of it. So in that case, it's a very modest amount of federal money relative to the overall. Now I'm going to give you the other end of the spectrum, and I should probably finish the answer here, but the other end of the spectrum is some of these port infrastructures. You think of the Arctic Economic Corridor. So what we're talking about there, it's an initiative of multiple governments, started at the Nunavut government, but also Northwest Territories and some of the prairie provinces. The anchor there is a new dual-use port at Grays Bay and an associated road that would go Grays Bay and Nunavut. Dual use because it would also have military applications, security applications, as well as commercial. You know, that's kind of the federal government's job, or largely the federal government's job in terms of that port. And so yes, there will be some contributions, and there's ways that we can optimize, certainly when the commercial returns are coming from that. Once the private side of that port's up and running, we can get some cash flows from that and monetize. But the military side of that, which also helps unlock this, and some of the other components of that, there'll be more federal dollars involved in that. Exactly the number of federal dollars, the reason I'm not quoting you a figure is we're referring it because we want to work through all of that, and then we want to look at how we can get private contributions through what is unlocked by it. I'll give you, remember I said that was my final example? I'm going to run on. That's a comma after that, because I make a point that is true for both the TGV, high-speed rail, and these corridors. We have the potential to create we help create the possibility of these, but they unlock economic opportunity. And one of the ways you help finance is you use the economic opportunity that's unlocked, that a portion of that goes to the overall project. So one of the ways that high-speed rail and other things are financed in Europe is the property development that is created at the nodes of the train. It becomes very attractive to be attractive, live in Ottawa to commute to Montreal. It's attractive, just to be clear, it's attractive to live in Ottawa for many reasons, particularly Nepean. But we have the ability to organize to use those multiple aspects of financing in order to do it. So, but we'll be very clear about the dollars, but the overall answer, it's a bit late, is many multiples of private dollars for the public dollars, because that's how we're getting the true benefit.
So there you go, Kitscubs. Again, a prime minister who's willing to give a lengthy, substantive answer. Not only where will the money come to fund this, but okay, certain projects will require more federal dollars, like anything that has dual purpose, like a commercial and a military purpose. Well, the military purpose, that is the government of Canada's job. They will supply the money for that. But knowing that there's the money for that and that it will have a dual purpose will probably generate the economic activity from the private sector to bring the project the rest of the way for all of the commercial activities. For the other projects, talking about it's not only how much it's going to cost us, but how much it's going to cost the proponents. If we can make our processes simpler and get out of the way, which he's talking about, like, for example, the high-speed rail, if we cut that down from 8 to 4 years and it's $2 extra billion a year, we just saved the proponents $8 billion. We just made that project $8 billion much more attractive for proponents to come in and bid. So, there's not only how much it costs us, but how much do we reduce the costs of the projects themselves for the proponents, thus making the likelihood of having a bidder or people throwing their hat in the ring more likely by doing things more efficiently. So, for example, being able to anything that could be done concurrently, being done concurrently rather than one after another, for example, subsequently. Right? There's lots of ways that we can save some money and save some time on that level. So, he's being asked the simple question, how much is this going to cost us? How much are we putting in? But then he takes the concept of cost and then expands it to explain that there's more than just cost to us, more than just money from the government of Canada going out, but all the various pools of money, where they come from, and how they can all be affected by these types of decisions and projects, which is not the typical answer. Again, having been, on this planet for half a decade now, and pretty interested in politics since I was relatively young. Again, other than the Chrétien-Martin period, where Paul Martin, over a very substantive amount of time, made the case to us as Canadians about the belt tightening measures that we needed to do in order to get our economy back on track, because the value of our dollar was getting very scary. This is about the only other time that I've seen a government really bring us along the process from beginning to end to try and get our buy-in, to make the case, to talk to us like we were grown-ups, and that we can handle hard news or bad news, or that we can entertain complex concepts. And I am, like I said, it's just so nice, especially when we have the compare and contrast from the other political parties. The last question that he was asked that I thought would be interesting is that, well, one, who's paying? And then number two, about the prospect for future projects under this thing, because as we mentioned, right, it seems to be a rolling list. It doesn't seem to be that there will just be one or two announcements, but several announcements over time, because in his remarks, the Prime Minister, who's been like making a lot of well-delivered jokes and analogies in his previous announcement when he was talking to the caucus. He, was talking about time is being very difficult. There's this going on, there's this going on, and McDavid hasn't been signed yet. Ah, just slid it in there casually, and got a lot of laughs for that. But this one here, do the projects just stop? And in this announcement, he said, we will probably have a second tranche announced sometime before the Grey Cup, and then, we might have some more projects before the Stanley Cup, and then maybe more projects before the World Cup. Cup, get it? So, some clever delivery, but wanting to make sure here to let people know that this is, you don't just get one shot. Get your project in before this deadline, or else the concept is dead forever and never to be spoken about again. So, just give you the answer to this question. That will be it for the Prime Minister's preference.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Rafa Buchanan, CBC. These future development projects, how much more difficult do you expect them to be to get to the approval process than the ones that are already in your top 5, and why?
Yeah, well, I'll answer it this way. I suspect that, I don't just suspect, I'm highly confident that there will be some new projects that will come in when we're in Winnipeg, or just before going to Winnipeg for the Grey Cup. There'll be some new projects that come in that will rise to that level of the 5, the projects that are substantially advanced, or that the Major Project Office thinks that they can pick up and move them to be to the finish line. There's more of those that are close, but not quite there at this point. But I think partly by seeing the scale of our ambition, the speed with which we're moving, how we're being resourced, that the work gets done, and there'll be more that come there. So that's the first thing. The second, with respect to those, if I can use my words, so we're talking about the same thing, this transformative strategies, Arctic economic pathways is 2 examples. There's varying degrees of work that need to be done. There's a lot more that needs to be done on the Arctic Economic and Security Corridor. Then, look, there's a lot of decisions to be made around pathways, but we pretty much know what the decisions are. So it's a question of will and engagement and timing and the plus, actually, I think, to be frank around that. So it depends. It depends on the strategy, it depends on the project. But what we're absolutely clear about is we will dedicate the resources with the intention of moving as rapidly as possible. And that the definition of fast has changed dramatically. This country is open for business. We're moving, we're building big projects for Canadians, for the people behind me, and the union leaders represent people across, good union workers across the country, skilled trade people, our engineers. We are building at scale, at speed, for Canadians for decades.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This puts.
And there you go, Kits and Cubs. So the Prime Minister making it very clear, this is just not one shot. This is something, like I said, building at scale and at speed for decades. This is a new way of doing business. And therefore, regardless of how far projects are along the way, because when the projects come to the attention, if they are deemed to be, or have the potential to be, those 5 criteria to be deemed a project of national importance, and then are far along the way enough to be under serious consideration, if not ready to go, that the office will jump in at that point to try to provide all the assistance that is required to accelerate those projects through those phases so that the economic activity it can generate can happen sooner rather than later. And you'll also notice in that answer the manner that he talks about unions and jobs and that type of thing, that the prime minister seems to also be positioning himself in a way to do competition with the conservatives who seem to want to make more inroads with the trades and labor unions of that kind. And here I'm noticing the prime minister going, not so fast, Pierre. Not so fast, Pierre. We've got their backs too, because you keep on saying that you're going to give them powerful paychecks, but you also probably don't have the method and the rigor to bring such projects of scale to the forefront with a certain amount of speed without selling the farm. That is, and well, I can because I have. I've done it before and I will do it again. So type thing. So hold on to your horses there and trying to court all the unions because uh, you may be able to make them promises, but I'm going to show them that I can deliver. So game on. Now we mentioned. Uh, oh, I see Kit Jen go. I'd go to Google for you, Douglas. Oh, ah, you are lovely. I adore you guys. Um, so, um, I've got thrown. See, all you need to do is give me a little flattery, and then I start blushing and I get thrown. Um, so A plus for this announcement, right? Listing the projects, talking to us like they're adults, telling us about the environmental benefits in terms of climate competitiveness, if they are, telling us about how it respects Indigenous rights and title, and how it is something that could be done in partnership in the true spirit of reconciliation where it is possible, telling us about the economic benefits if they are known at the moment, telling us about the number of jobs that could be created if they are known at the moment. Even with the Canadian cloud, the digital cloud, having an element of national security. And the same thing with some of those ports, national security, if it is a part of it. So linking all the things together, really seeing more and more and more how the pieces of the puzzle come together. And what is absolutely fascinating to me in a positive way is that how from announcement to announcement from his first time when he was talking about the relationship between us and the United States having fundamentally changed, right? And Mr. Grizzly pointed out and says, wow, this is a sentence that he said that came out of his mouth that literally changes everything. And then all the things that he wanted to do and seeing him move to the next step and the things that he does in the subsequent step actually do flow naturally from the previous step that he talked about, as he doesn't talk to us about something one day and then comes back 3 weeks later or a month and a half later and say, okay, we're doing this. And then you turn around and go, well, but wait, I thought you said we were doing this. No, it actually flows. You can see the pieces of his strategy coming together over time with each announcement if you're paying attention, and that it's all consistent, it's cogent, it's coherent. The through line through it is constant, it's consistent. All the c words, right? But these are the things that you look to, especially again if you want to create a climate of predictability and stability. The government says it's going to do a thing, then it does the thing, then it announces it says it's going to do a thing, then it announces some processes to get the thing done, then it announces the people that it needs to get the things done, then it announces the changes into the legislative or regulatory framework that are required to make that things happen, then it announces some funding. But all of it flows in a line from the initial statement, and there's like nothing on the record that skips because whoa, wait a minute. Because it just it is so refreshing because you can follow the story Yes, and even if you miss a part of the story, you can come back later, and because what is flowing naturally, if you're paying attention, I was like, "Oh, I must have missed that part in between where there was that," you can fill in the blank yourself and figure out what it is that you've missed by comparing what was said before, what was said now. Oh, so somewhere in the middle, somebody must have announced this then for us to get there to there. But it flows logically. It's rational. It's like I said, I am impressed with the amount of work that has been able to go into all of this in such a short period of time. Uh, again, there are some things we got to watch out for. Some, like as we pointed out, one of the partners with which we're doing one of these projects might need a little more hand holding or supervision if we're going to do the right things in the right way, which matters. Um, but I mean, there's not much to dislike in all of this announcement. And we see that this, of course, is so well prepared that the conservatives are just basically reduced to what? No pipeline. Oh, this just means more red tape, which is clearly an unserious comment from an unserious party. If you hear all of that and your takeaway is what? No pipelines? Oh, this sucks. Clearly, you are not engaged in this process in the manner in which you need to be. And the other comment I wanted to bring to you, kids and cubs, with regard to that, uh, comes from Heather McPherson, one of the seven MPs that still remain from NDP after the carnage, for all intents and purpose, of the previous election, the most recent election. And someone who claims that she is going to, uh, or everybody's saying, is going to be a candidate and a serious candidate, maybe the only one of these seven sitting MPs who might run for the leadership. We also have Avi Lewis and Eve Engel, I believe, from the province of Quebec, who's looking at joining. But she had this to say, and I couldn't believe it. As the lack of creative thinking here, and the really facile, for all intents and purposes, attack. But here it is. She decided to attack the new head of the project's office, saying, "Young Canadians can't get a job, can't afford rent. Meanwhile, Liberal insiders are scraping by on more than $500,000 a year. Truly, the struggle is real." So, with all of the announcement, all of the projects, the only thing she could focus on is how much is the head of the project's office getting paid, and then framing that in the traditional NDP way. Oh, just liberals greasing their insiders' palms while you get nothing, while not focusing at all on the transformative nature of this announcement. Um, I'm sorry, but if your first move, your first public move after such an announcement as a potential leader of the NDP is to go and start behaving like a conservative, uh, I'm sorry. You are just, in my personal opinion, you have just ruled yourself out as a serious candidate and viable candidate for this job. What we're talking about, the NDP maybe needing to get back to its class warfare roots. Uh, it's not this. The federal government hired a person to head a project's office and they're paying her $500,000 while you get by on scraps. What a terrible government. No, it's we need to work together to increase salaries. We need to put pressures on employers. We need to make these industries, uh, more resonant in certain ways, or whatever. But it's like not taking the announcement of the person that's going to be in charge of the office that is going to put the government plan in order and this to change and reorient our economy so that we can become our own best customer, so that we can, as the Prime Minister says, give us ourselves more than anybody could take away, and criticize her salary. And then say, I can't believe they're paying her so much when you get paid so little. Isn't that to start to foment anger at the person in a job for 11 days because how much we have decided to pay her to help generate billions upon billions of dollars of additional economic activity and jobs. And as the Prime Minister keeps on saying, not just jobs, but even careers, lucrative careers for decades and decades to come. This is not your target. I do not know what she's thinking here. But that is probably from the conservatives and from the new Democrats, the absolute most intellectual, laziest response that you can come up with after such an announcement, which just leads me to believe that the Prime Minister's announcement was so detailed, so thorough, and had so much substance that these well-worn, super tired tropes are about the only things that they could fall back upon. That's all they had to offer. All right, kids and cubs, we are way past the time, and I know that there was other subjects I wanted to talk about this morning, and I am going to bypass those. But I think that today might be a good day for a bonus Beaver show to get those underway. So I am going to contact Mr. Grizzly and see what he's doing after work, and if he is available, we might be able to come together this afternoon so you can get some Grizzly time, and we can touch upon the other subjects that I wanted to talk about today, in terms of the Ontario Liberal leadership. It seems that on the Charlie Kirk thing, as we started the show, there's been an announcement that they do have someone in custody. Not sure if it's the right person, but there is someone in custody. So that there's been that development there, and the other things that there's a couple of other things we wanted to talk about. So maybe I will find a time and see if Mr. Grizzly's available, and we might be able to do a short spot this afternoon to have a bonus beaver, because I would like to be able to do this with my good friend Mr. Grizzly. So, kits and cubs, for now, I'm going to say that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show, and keep your eyes and ears peeled because you might get some bonus beaver today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I particularly liked putting this one together just because I was so inspired by the content. So I hope that my enthusiasm has been able to flow through the bandwidth and, for lack of a better word, infect your hearts as well, and that you are as enthusiastic about what is to come as I am, based on these proposals, of course, with the caveats that we also must be vigilant to always ensure that we are doing the right things the right way. Sharing is caring, so please share our content. You are influencers in your own circle, and we really appreciate it when you do that. So thank you very much. And if you would like us to help you because you are busy and on the go, but still want to keep abreast of what's going on, thanks to the Ray Girl, you can do that, kits and cubs. You absolutely can do that. And the way you can do that is by looking at our pod page, made available thanks to the Ray Girl. Podpage.com/the-true-northeagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you're watching, you can scan that QR code and it will bring you right there. When you click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, zip right into your feed. We wait for you and you come and collect us, put us in your ears. We're portable, lightweight, aerodynamic, all of the good things. We don't weigh you down. And that way you can keep on being informed while you go out and take on the world and make the world a better place. There we go. We like to help. Now, if we like mutual help, well, then you can help us. And one of the ways you could do that, Kits and Cubs, is by hearing the call of our beautiful sirens, Kit Elaine and Kits Cassie, who want you, who need you, who urge you to go on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. We are closing in really rather rapidly on 23,000, and I have to believe that Mr. Grizzly has taken on another advertising push because we normally don't grow this fast without one. So thank you, Mr. Grizzly, for taking care of that. But closing in on 23,000. So if you would like to become a member of the DAMFAM, all you have to do is go to our page and click subscribe. And then, of course, you can click like and share. And of course, if you are on our YouTube page, we do have some memberships that you can buy if you would like to support us as well. We are very grateful for all of you who do that. So thank you so much. And if you would like to help us in other ways, we do incur some costs to bring the show to you. So, of course, through YouTube, we have the super chat feature for donations where you can buy memberships. But we also have our coffee page, which is our tip jar at the Beaver Lodge, where we also like to fictionally call the Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we fight the scourge that is dry beaver, and where you can make your contribution to keep your favorite beaver moist. And let's do that. Why not? Moisture. It's a wonderful thing. So if you would like to help us, coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, or boom, like magic, that QR code that just appeared right there. Scan that and it will bring you right there. Now, as we mentioned earlier on the show, if you want if you want to do buy Canadian and want your transaction to take place entirely on Canadian networks rather than ones based on the United States, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address, and that's where you can send us a direct bank transfer. And that way, none of your money goes to the USC tech bros who take a portion of it and give it to Donald Trump so he can do terrible things to us and the rest of the world. And, well, we get 100% of your donations. So your Canadian money stays in Canada and helps Canadians deliver commentary and analysis of news to fellow Canadians with a Canadian perspective. That's very important in this day and age of disinformation that we tell our own stories. So I thank you so much, Kids and Cubs, for all of your contributions. They mean the world to us. Now, as we often say on the show, if you cannot contribute financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. eagerbeaver@gmail.com is also the email address you can use in order to write to us to let us know what you think about the show, make guest suggestions. If you happen to have a home-based business or part of a community group that is organizing an activity and you need a little extra profile to make your business grow or to get more butts in the seats for whatever activity that you are planning, please contact us. We have very, very, very favorable rates, and we are happy to find some way to help you, in particular if you're a community group, because we know your budgets are smaller. Don't worry, we have stuff for you too. So give us a try. It might help. All right. And it's a very low investment for potentially good return, given that we have an audience of very engaged citizens who very much support buying Canadian and would love to support your business or your activity if they are able to use it or are in your region. So there you go. Thank you so much. I hope that on screen I am not in stop motion, because I am a little bit on the screen on Restream where I'm watching. I have a little bit of a Max Headroom effect going on here for those who remember that. And hopefully that's not being streamed to you. It's just my computer being a little slow. All right. What else do we have? Because democracy is something that you do, Kids and Cubs, forever-canadian.ca. Oh my God, I said it right today. Please go there if you would like to sign up to be a canvasser, because all the signatures need to be witnessed, or if you want to make a donation to the organization to help fund it, because it is doing some important work that does cost money, just like we are, except their work is probably a little more important than ours at the current moment, I will readily admit. And if you want to find out where all the pop-up sites are so that you can show up to sign. This is, of course, to put a citizens initiative question on the ballot about keeping Alberta within Canada. About 294,000 signatures are needed, more if you consider that Danielle likes to play games. And you can go there. And I think the organization has stated an objective to try to get 1 million to really send a clear message. So if you would do that, Mr. Thomas Lukasik seems to be very happy with the way that things are progressing. And I think they have sometime until October to get all those signatures that they need. So please, kids and cubs, if you are in Alberta, do your thing and make sure you sign that so that question can go on the ballot. Also, of course, the appeal from the Red Cross to help our brothers and sisters in Newfoundland and Labrador who have been very, very affected by wildfires this season is on. And if you would like to help until the 14th of this month, kids and cubs, those numbers, your donations will be matched, which is very, very important. And to maximize your donation. And in order to accomplish that, kids and cubs, um, huh, that's very, very, tech is not liking me today at all. Wow. Okay. I just opened up the screen with the information to donate via the Red Cross to help our brothers and sisters in Newfoundland and Labrador. And the screen just closed itself on me just to be contrarian after I opened it. So, in order to make that donation to the Red Cross to help, you would dial 1-800-418-1111 or send an email to wecare@redcross.ca or go online to www.redcross.ca, and that way you can make your contribution. Fortunately, because the computer is acting silly on me, I do have the trusty cell phone on me, and I just went back to yesterday's episode description to get the numbers because, when a door closes, a window opens. On this show, I'm often MacGyvering a way to get the information to you when the computer doesn't work for me. So there you go. Please support our brothers and sisters in Newfoundland and Labrador if you do have the means and are able. Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. A little devoid of wisdom at the moment. So I will say, you know what? If you have the opportunity today, go out and make a new friend or reconnect with one you haven't seen and spent time with for a while. Because I had the opportunity, the privilege of doing both yesterday, and it was very, very good for the soul. So if there's been somebody, a friend that's been on your mind, just popping into your thoughts lately, and you haven't talked to them for a while. Well, take the fact that they've been popping into your mind as a sign that maybe they've been thinking of you too and would love to hear from you. Just pick up the phone or, send them a little email or a message on social media. Let them know that, they're on your mind and that you are thinking fondly of them. Who knows? It might make someone's day. It might make someone's day. All right. Ah, I guess that's everything. So kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now at the count of 3, if I may ask you to say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Ah, loveliness. Absolute delightful loveliness. Melodic loveliness. How can I resist? As your humble queen, I live to serve. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids. I won't be able to go into everything else that I wanted to mention, of course, today. And like I said, maybe we will have a show with Mr. Grizzly Bonus Beaver. But there is one thing I wanted to bring to your attention: the petition going on right now. You may have heard a story in the news lately of how the government of Wales had passed some legislation making it illegal for politicians to lie to people. I'm not sure of the full extent of the lie. I would have to go back and read on it, so I'm not going to pine more than that. But it seems that there is a similar movement in Canada going on, and I'm going to include the link here. Of course, that did not work at all because tech hates me today once again. Sorry, kids and cubs. I will try that again. But there is a House of Commons petition, petition 6679. It has been sponsored by Karim Bardisi, who is the MP for, I have no idea how to pronounce that, Tayakon Parkdale High Park. And it is a petition to the House of Commons that says, whereas members of Parliament have been accused of making important public statements that are false without evidence, misinformation is a growing threat to the proper functioning of, as well as faith in, our democratic process. A mechanism is needed to verify MPs' public statements to maintain trust in our governing body. Artificial intelligence is amplifying misinformation. Current events in the United States demonstrate the dangers of not addressing this problem, and the Institute for Constitutional and Democratic Research, the ICDR of Wales, UK, proposed a white paper entitled, quote, "A Model for Political Honesty," created because, quote, "the Welsh government will bring forward legislation before 2026 for the disqualification of members and candidates found guilty of deliberate deception through an independent judicial process, and will invite the committee to make proposals to that effect. We, the undersigned citizens of Canada, call upon the House of Commons to propose a bill to address the issue of perceived and actual misinformation being presented by MPs to the public, provided that such a bill could be informed by details outlined in the white paper proposed by the ICDR. This petition opened on July 30th and will close November 27th, so there is lots of time. And we want to get as many signatures for that, because it is time for us as people of Canada to reclaim our power and remind our elected officials that we are the boss, and that we demand better, that if we are going to pay them, we do not pay them to stand in front of a television camera or go online and lie to us, insult our intelligence, and attempt to deceive us. We do not elect them for that purpose. We do not elect them to sustain themselves through deception, but to serve us by being serious and putting our concerns first, not their own. So this type of petition, very important, and I would like to see a lot of people sign it already. I am not sure what the standard number of signatures are for a petition, but the signatures on this petition are reaching 11,000 already. I'm not sure how many are needed to get one tabled, but 11,000 seems to me to be a lot on this type of petition, because they normally don't get a lot of public profile. But if you could sign this petition, I already have, so has Kit Hugh, and if you would too, and please act as canvassers and among your circles of friends. If you have other people that are tired of the disinformation and the misinformation, tell them that there's a way now to be able to fight this and to make our voices heard. because if that petition could get like 100,000 signatures or more, it is definitely something that people would take notice of. And as we mentioned, when we keep on telling you to call your elected representatives, to send them letters, preferably handwritten, to ask for one-on-one meetings, these are the types of things. The more they hear about this from their constituents, that's how these subjects get on the political agenda. They have to feel that there's a groundswell within the Canadian population in order to be able to give it enough attention and say, maybe we will run to this. So a petition that has several 100,000 signatures rather than a few thousand would probably do the trick and get the governing party and the government of the day to consider such a move seriously. So please, kids and cubs, I beg you, I implore you. Misinformation and disinformation is one of the banes of my existence. It does not serve democracy in any way, shape, or form. And people that are abusing their parliamentary privilege or their position and stature as a leader in the country to be able to say anything they want recklessly and destructively and deceptively as something that we should not tolerate, we cannot tolerate, and we should draw a line in the sand. So, kids and cubs, this is a personal appeal from me to you, asking you to sign this and to make your voices heard and to let everybody you know that this petition exists. All right, that is all I have for you today. Keep abreast of keep in touch with our socials, because I will contact Mr. Grizzly and see if we can do something later today, because there's a lot more to cover. Until then, however, I hope that you have a wonderful weekend in store, surrounded with love and laughter, lots of friends, family, or just people that love you and you love them, and that you will come back to us Monday refreshed, rejuvenated, and I will do the best to make sure that I do as well. All right, kids and cubs, and like magic, I am gone.